Assalamualaikum and welcome to another episode of the Halal Travel Podcast. You're listening to me, Hazira and Rauda. Correctly, today we do not have Nurul because she is not able to make it for today, but it's fine. We will go on ahead. But today we have a very special guest because we want to live vicariously through her travels. We are so happy to have Exploring Hijabie here with us today. So she's going to tell us everything about her latest travel, and I must say her adventures are simply phenomenal because all the places that she went are very, very into the bewilderness. Is that what is correct? Bewilderness. Bewilderness. Okay, but Akeela, also known as Exploring Hijabie, is running a travel diary page on Instagram. So at Exploring Hijabie on Instagram. So go check her out if you haven't. Honestly, I'm just very amazed how you have so much courage to go into the unknown with all your travel. I'm very amazed. So let's hear more about that. So Akeela, maybe we can just start off with how did Exploring Hijabie start?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on here. It is my absolute pleasure to be a part of your podcast. Thank you for that lovely introduction as well. So Exploring Hijabie actually started as it was an idea at first. But then what happened was like in the summer of 2021, I had the opportunity to travel to Alberta in Canada. So for those who don't know where Alberta is, it is a province in Canada, and Canada is a huge country. It's broken up into 13 provinces. I live in Ontario. And usually, like travel within Canada tends to be very expensive. It's cheaper to book a ticket internationally. Like traveling internationally is cheaper than actually like traveling from province to province. So let me actually like rewind a little bit more. So prior to so in 2019, my husband and I had this huge idea of like, we're like, you know what, we need to travel, we need to go and see the world a bit more. And then we were like, okay, let's just go to the Middle East, like go to a couple of countries there, then stop over at Sri Lanka, where me and my husband are originally from. And then maybe, like stop over at Indonesia and then go to Australia and then back to Canada. So big plans.
Yeah.
However, we all know what happened in 2020. The pandemic happened and our plans just didn't work out. And we were so bummed out. But then again, we were also kind of thankful because alhamdulillah, we were safe at home. Come 2021, we were going, in our free time, we look for like tickets. Like that's something that we usually do.
Yeah.
So we came across this amazing deal for tickets to Banff in Canada. I mean, in Alberta. And like I mentioned before, like it tends to be very expensive, but this was an amazing deal that we could not pass up. So we were like, you know what? Maybe we should go check it out. And so we go there, and it is just ridiculously beautiful. Like I can't even explain because I think honestly, like even pictures don't do it justice. So we spent around 8 days there, and all I was doing was just taking pictures. Like I can guarantee like I took more than like 1,000 pictures. And so I was like, you know what? This is so beautiful. This is so amazing. And I just want to share it with everyone that I know. So at that point, like I hadn't like really thought of an Instagram page itself, but it was more about, let me just like share this with my friends and family, right? So, and I did, and I inspired like 7 other families to travel. And even to them, like that was like one of the best things that ever happened to them because it's just so amazing. And so I was like, you know what? Why don't I kind of like make an Instagram page, and instead of just sharing it with my friends and family, let me just share it with the world, Um, and I think, like Canada has like increasingly like it's increasingly like Muslim friendly when it comes to travel.
Mm.
It's not as maybe back in the day it was kind of difficult to come up with like halal food and like planning a halal trip, especially like in other provinces. Like in Ontario, there's a lot of Muslims, a lot of halal options, but maybe in other provinces, not so much. So I was like, so that's what actually got me into coming up with like the Exploring Hijabie, because it would be a great way to kind of share that with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, and that's how Exploring Hijabie was born.
So cool. I
Wow.
had no idea about traveling domestic in Canada was
Yeah.
really expensive. I imagine you could, so you took a flight there.
Yes.
Okay, is it not common to do a drive around Canada, or it's just
Too big.
too large?
Maybe.
It is very, very large. So
Mhm.
Canada is the second largest country in the world.
Mhm.
And just driving there, like we did consider it, but then when we looked at the geography of the area, it's just flat and there's no changes.
Mm.
So up until you hit like Alberta, and that's where the Rocky Mountains like run through.
Mhm.
But up until then, like Ontario is like pretty flat, and it takes a long time to get there.
Mm.
So we're like, you know what? We're just wasting like so
Okay,
much
fine.
time, so might as well just fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. Which I think I understand now, because when I was in Melbourne and I wanted to fly to Gold Coast for just like 2 days, it was 400 coming to 500.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be that expensive. So maybe it could be like school holiday kind of thing. Then I realized that if I travel from Singapore to Thailand or Malaysia, it's 100 plus.
$100, yeah, it's cheap, right?
Which is okay.
And that's not even
Yeah.
domestic, you know.
yeah.
That's like inter-country travel. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you mean like $200 or like 200 like Singaporean?
I'm
And
200 Singaporean dollars
From Singapore to
from Singapore to like Thailand,
Oh,
or
yeah.
sometimes
No, you can fly really cheap. Like you
Yeah.
can fly from Singapore to like Malaysia for like
70?
$100.
okay, 70 was
100
pre-COVID.
Singapore
amazing.
dollars. Yeah, because it's on like budget airlines, right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot
Yeah.
of budget airlines that fly out.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
the flight that I was considering from Melbourne to Gold Coast was a budget airline.
Oh,
So for it to be $400, I was taken aback. So I'm like, never mind, cancel my plans.
because Australia is also big, I think, and
That's
you're
true.
going from one territory to another territory.
yeah.
Maybe the airport taxes is also high.
Maybe. But yeah, I think having looked at the images she had, or Akeela had, of Banff, I'm just thinking like, I am very amazed when travelers travel to all these woody areas, because it's not something that I'm used to. I'm used to city life, so like get transport here and then travel by train. I would think that is what travel is, but the thought of me going on a road trip into like these woodiness, I just feel like someone's gonna kill me. Someone's gonna come at me with werewolves and everything. So
That
how
is
do you
so
find
funny.
that courage?
Yeah. Well, actually, like Alberta, like if you look it up, it's known to be like a very mountainous, like that's kind of like the vibe there. Like where I live now, Toronto is like a huge city.
Yep.
So it is very different from Toronto. Like even the closest thing you'll get to a mountain is like a hill somewhere. So very different. But I get where you're coming from, because even for me, like prior to going there, I was like, oh my God, what if I get chased by
Yeah.
a bear? Like,
Yeah.
what would I do then?
Yeah.
So, but then again, like, because that is the vibe of the area, like everything is set up a certain way. So you would see like mountains and wilderness, but you would have like roads, little parks that you can pull into, like safe places for you to hike. There's posts and signages telling you what to do, what not to do. And it is quite safe in the sense it's beautiful, because they've like really preserved the natural beauty of the place without like killing it with buildings.
True.
And there's like a lot of people there. in this. Well, when I went, there wasn't that many because it does tend to be a little touristy, and we went in the pandemic time, so there was very little.
Right.
So that was kind of like a good thing for us,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah. But it's not as scary. Like it's not like going alone into a forest. So you can get that feeling of like being in a forest without actually being in danger, if that makes sense.
Right. More cozy vibes.
So it sounds very developed, and like a lot
Yes.
of travelers actually go there. Are these tourists like locals, or do people fly into Canada and Alberta specifically to go to Banff?
When I was there, I did come across a lot of foreigners actually, because during that time it was like, the pandemic and I guess people not traveling. But I did like, when you pass by, you can tell like who's Canadian and who's not, So
yeah.
there were people from other places as well.
I see.
Cool.
But I do feel like countries that have a lot of nature in that sense, those areas are built to be tourist attractions. So for example, in Canada or in the US, I know there's this place called Black Bear or Big Bear.
Interesting.
Something
There.
sorry, something that has to do with a bear. Okay, but anyways,
Interesting.
so it's also like woody area. It's like a camping site, and you have a very small but enough for you to live a few days. An accommodation that is on wheels, or for example, like a trailer, like a what is that?
Like an RV.
RV, but the one that is stay put. So it's like walking to a hotel room, but it's just that room.
Interesting.
Yeah. Container. It's almost like a
Interesting.
container. So
Yeah, I think I've seen those.
yeah. So people would go out right outside of their room and have like fire, s'mores or something.
Yeah.
Like we tried to have that in Singapore, a container hotel, but I would say the vibe is different.
It's different because we are fully a city, right? We
Correct.
don't really have
Yes.
an equivalent.
Your view
of,
is the expressway.
yeah,
It's cars.
Yeah.
So I think it's a plus point over there.
yeah.
The fact that they have a lot of nature and the entire space is made for you to
Just bask yourself in like the scenery.
correct.
Right?
Yeah. So that's good.
It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So next question. Today you're traveling with your husband, and what is your number one tip when traveling with your significant other? This is something that I think a lot of our audience can relate or can learn from. So please tell us.
Yes. So like I think you mentioned before, lots of patience.
Yes,
That
sabar.
goes without saying, I think. But then again, like when I kind of think about this, like I think everyone has their own traveling style. Like there's people who like traveling just for the food, or some people just like luxury travel, or there's people who love like cruises or like like sightseeing. So it kind of depends. Like sometimes, well, I feel like I kind of lucked out in that area because my husband and I have a very similar style of traveling preference. But if it's like very different, for example, like someone loves luxury travel and the other person likes spending time in the woods, that's gonna be like you kind of have to
Hard.
come to a compromise, right?
Yeah.
So maybe like research the place that you're going to beforehand and see what you can do that aligns with your travel preferences, and also like in a way that you can have both maybe. But yeah, that I think that would come down to a bit of compromising.
Yeah, definitely. Compromise is a keyword here, everybody.
Yeah, when you're married, compromise is always it's always
Speaking from
there,
experience.
even when you're traveling or not.
I see. Do you remember one situation where you're like, no, I don't want to look at you anymore?
Oh,
Do you remember that during a travel with your husband?
Oh, of me getting annoyed at him.
Yeah.
All the time. It's usually like for us it comes down to food. Usually we're kind of okay. we're the type to eat ramen and survive. We're good. But occasionally I like to eat like nice food.
Yep.
So for example, like when you go to Alberta, um, your choice of restaurants and like all the kinds of options that you would have in like say Toronto or even in like Singapore, like it's pretty multicultural, so you have everything. And then you go to Alberta, which is like wooded, and you know, there's not that much. So it kind of gets to a point where you're craving certain kinds of food and you can't really have them. So I found myself wanting like regular food. So that was kind of like a point of like irritation for me, like with my husband. He's like, just bite an apple, like we're good. Like, that's not enough.
An apple.
Yeah, he's like, that's how he is. Like he can survive on air. Like I don't
my
know how he
goodness.
does it. So yeah, so it took us like a bit of time because what happens is like you end up spending time like looking for restaurants.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that was one of the places that we kind of had to work on.
I definitely can relate. I mean, traveling with the family, I think not everyone within the family, not everyone can just survive on bread. Coming from my family, like
Amazing.
we usually have like a luggage full of just food items. So we bring that luggage to us to the hotel room so that we have like different pots to cook our ramen in. We have like ready-made paste to cook. So it's very important for us. So I don't know how your husband can do that. Not a fan of him now.
He probably eats just to like survive.
Just for the nutrients. Just for the nutrients.
Exactly. Exactly. Just to keep himself alive.
Okay, talking about this, do you remember the first ever travel that you can that you know somehow you can remember most vividly? Like, do you have that?
Yeah, so I would say it goes way back. I was around 7 or 8 at that time, and my parents are very outdoorsy people as well, so I kind of feel like that's where it came from. My dad had planned this huge trip with a bunch of his friends. So they got this big bus, and this was back home in Sri Lanka. And he had hired this huge bus, and like all of us, like, so it starts with like one family, the bus goes picks up one family, and then like it slowly fills up. And that was where I met my dad's friends' kids, who are still friends to this day. I remember just like being like, hey, what's your name? You know, and then, you know, making friends. It was a long road trip. And then we were going from Colombo, where I'm originally from. And then we were going to the northeast of Sri Lanka. So that's like, so we were, instead of like going around, we're just like cutting across.
Right.
Sri Lanka also has a lot of elephants.
Yes.
Right? So like there's a lot of wild elephants, and I remember like going on the road, and then the bus stops and the elephants were crossing in front.
Right.
And one of the kids had taken someone's camera, and one thing about elephants is you have to try to not agitate them because they can be very dangerous when they are. And he didn't realize the flash was on. And then the elephant kind of stopped and looked, and we all held our breath because we're just like, no, right? And thankfully, the elephant just like walked away. But I just remember that so vividly. It was such a scary moment. But yeah, I would say like that would be one of like the most vivid, earliest memories of my trips.
Whoa, nice. I think it's really not about just the destination. It's also about the people that you go with.
Yeah, the journey, right?
Yeah. I remember. I mean, I used to have, we used to go a lot on convoys. So like it's either multiple cars or in one whole big bus or one whole big van. It's really the people that you go with, I think. Wow.
I agree.
A few families at once, right?
Sorry?
A few families go at
So
once.
family at once. Do you have that when you were younger?
Very rarely actually, but maybe like once or twice. Yeah, very rarely we travel in very large group.
Yeah. That is a nice memory. I feel like everybody would have that. Hopefully. But honestly, Is it something that you would do in the future? Let's say if you have children, or are you someone who just wants, I think, family time amongst yourself?
Um, do you mean like would I also get my kids into that lifestyle?
Yes.
Of course, yes. Like that is something that I am considering.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so interesting because I came across this quote once. It's which says, "Get your children used to your lifestyle." So it's not hard to make them like it because when they're young,
Mm.
you take them out to see nature, the woods, and they get used to that.
Yep.
And one thing that I saw, and it kind of like really instilled that thought in me, is when I went there, I saw people hiking with their babies. Like they would put the babies on the baby carrier and they just take their kids on a hike. So
Yep.
so that kind of, I felt like that was really inspiring because maybe in the future that would be one of those moms carrying their baby into the woods. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I think a lot of people think that traveling with newborns can be a hassle, which I do understand. Obviously, it's going to be a hassle, but I do know of some parents who bring their children on travels, and then as they grow older, they start to be more aware of that kind of area. They know how to act within a plane, for example. They know the differences in in weather. So I think
Yeah.
it's definitely a good. I would say it's definitely interesting lah to see.
Yeah. But I think it depends on like the parents too, probably. If you're like
Yeah.
the very outdoorsy type, then you would go to great lengths to
Yeah.
have your kid experience that from young.
Yeah. Okay, so is there one iconic story that is always your favorite story to tell, apart from the elephants in Sri Lanka who might have killed you? Do you have one iconic story to tell whenever you come to your travel?
Interesting. So I do have a couple, but now I'm just
Okay.
like, which one do I tell you guys? So I would say like the most recent story that, kind of like really stuck with me is my husband and I also went on another trip to a place in Quebec. So Quebec is like another province here in Canada, and to a village called Tadoussac. So any French speakers listening, I'm sorry if I kind of butchered the name, but that's a place that you can see. You go to watch whales,
Hmm.
and that's been something like on our bucket list for so long. So we went there and we were given these fisherman looking overalls
Yeah.
to put on. And then we had to go there like early in the morning to catch all of that. So we got into this boat. It looked tiny, and I was like, what if the whale kind of just like whacks us
Flesh.
with its tail or whatnot?
Yeah.
It looked tiny from the outside, but like when I sat down, it kind of felt like it was a sturdy boat.
Mhm.
But yeah, and it was really interesting because like we know from like watching TV, we know that whales are big,
Yeah.
but it's different to see them in real life.
Mhm.
Like they are massive, like probably bigger than the boat that I went on. And you could like it was really nice because you could hear the sounds that they made and you could see them like traveling in packs.
Yeah.
And I was just in awe the whole time. I was like, subhanallah, like you
Yeah.
really see, like you understand like Allah's majesty, like by watching and like looking at these things in nature, right? So that I don't know if that's iconic, but for me that's like that just touched my heart. Like
Mhm.
I was like, subhanallah, like we're so tiny. We're
Yeah.
so tiny
Yeah.
compared to like everything that's out there.
Yep.
So yeah.
I mean, I've never seen a whale before, but I think whales or like dolphin watching is always something that I want to look forward to. Even watching penguins, they're so cute.
Oh
And
yes.
when you talk about the majestic of Allah, I think one of the things that have always stood out to me this past few months is about how detailed the Lord can be. So, for example, like He can build, for example, the whale which is big and strong and whatever, and like even to little details like its gut and everything, and then like he can also create a human like us who is so small, and like can you imagine our eyes, our lashes, our the hairs on our faces, and then he can also build a goldfish, for example, which is extra small. So whenever when you say something like that, I think it really stood out to me about how detailed and how powerful I think his powers are.
Yeah.
His ability.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. You actually feel that like dolphin watching is still something on my list. Like I would love to see them. I'm not sure if there's dolphins like around the coast of Canada, but if there is, I'll be going. But yeah, like it's just crazy. Like you'll see how tiny you feel next to those whales.
Ooh.
But if you're interested, you could like see them on my highlights as well. Like I just saved them there.
Yeah. I feel like I remember vaguely about this ayat or something like that. It's about how like we can be so amazed by the beauty of nature, the beauty of like the sun and the moon, but above all, humans are Allah's best creation. We are in awe of other things, but in actual fact, we are His best creation. So that humbled me a lot.
Yeah. Same.
Okay, what has been your biggest adventure so far? Have you been like skydiving?
Oh, that is actually on my list. That was actually a part of my plan for 2020, but then everything just,
Yeah.
So maybe if I'm planning, maybe if I go to the Middle East, maybe I feel like that's a nice place to skydive. Hopefully, but also very scary and just like super anxious just thinking about it.
Okay, but if it's one thing that you can remember from your travel, what is the biggest adventure that you didn't think that you would do so far?
Interesting. I would say, like for me, like I was born and I was raised in Sri Lanka, and then just moving to Canada itself was like an adventure in itself, because when you move to a different place, it's you learn everything, right? Like you learn how to navigate yourself, and then learn how to explore that place, if you will. So for me, like I've had like so many like mini adventures in Canada, and that all that like comes together to form this big adventure, like if that makes any sense. So I wouldn't say like I've had this crazy huge adventure, like where my life has been in danger, sort of thing, but it's more of like a life experience, like taking every day as it comes and just going and seeing these new places. So I feel like that would be my adventure, like all of it like coming together.
Right. This might be a sidetrack for a while, but I wonder, how do people migrate, or rather how do people move to a different country and be okay? If that makes sense.
It is very daunting. No, I know what you mean. It is very daunting. Again, it depends on the country you move to. I guess I was lucky enough to move to Canada, like again, as a Muslim, right? It is still a pretty Muslim friendly place compared to a lot of places out there. So I completely understand that fear that people have. But again, like hoping that I'm not like going like way off of your question. It's like it takes a while to figure things out because the systems are different. For example, in Sri Lanka versus maybe Singapore versus America versus Canada, right? So it takes a while to kind of like learn all that. And then you kind of like get used to it. And then it becomes home. You get what I mean? So
I get what you mean.
So I hope
Nice.
yeah, I hope that answered your question. But I get what fear is as a Muslim.
Yep.
Because especially as a Muslim woman, like the fear is very real. We've all heard about like, Islamophobic attacks. Like
Yeah.
it's nothing out of the norm for Canada. It happens a lot here too, especially from like the 2014 to 2018 kind of, that time frame was like pretty bad. And it's like super justified. Like if a Muslim woman feels afraid of traveling, like I understand why.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then again, I would say do your research and don't let it hold you back. Because they're like the more you travel, you see there are actual nice people out
Yeah.
there as well.
Yep.
And then you don't want to miss out just because of fear.
Yep.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So maybe like take baby steps, and then whoever like, is listening but is also like kind of scared to take that first step, start with baby steps. And then maybe you can work your way to like other countries maybe.
Yeah, I know of some people. I think you're right. During the 2014 to 2018 period, I think it is really bad. I think sometimes traveling as a Muslimah, for example, because you're wearing the hijab, right, can be quite difficult. And I know some people who would change their style of hijab so that they feel a lot safer, which I think is okay. Honestly, whatever makes you feel safe, right? But yeah, I think honestly, I think people should stop judging just in case. I think what's important is that you feel safe and but yeah, I think that's a very good tip.
I think like how a lot of the media portray Muslims, as scary or
Yeah.
like it's a lot of fear in the public. And we keep telling people like you shouldn't generalize the whole population to the few that the media portray. I think it's the same like when I travel and I have to travel alone, I tell myself it's the same. Like not everyone is afraid of you.
Yeah.
It's just a few that the media portrays. It's like on the opposite lens, right? The few that the media portray that are always, against you or always protesting against you. But the general public are okay. And normally, I mean, normally you should be just
Safe.
have a positive mindset.
Correct. Sometimes I even get touched in the smallest way, like, oh, this auntie talked to me, even though I'm wearing a hijab. Like when I'm traveling and someone talks to me in a normal way, like just like some random person, I feel very touched.
It surprises you.
It's just more of a heartwarming situation, I would say. But I think one of the best stories that we've heard so far in our few episodes is when a Muslim is traveling, some other person within the area tells them like, oh, this is not halal. Do not eat it. At least this person knows. So I'm like very, very impressed.
Yeah.
And like that's something that gives me goosebumps still today.
I love that. I actually like experienced that like a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, oh, thank you for letting me know. Because like, it was a Middle Eastern food place and you'd think, it's halal. And the lady's like, no, don't eat it. It's not halal. I was like, oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Okay. So talking about home, where do you feel most like home right now? Where you are at?
Interesting. I would say like Canada definitely feels like home. I've made it like, so many memories here and got used to like I have a home here, so it definitely does feel like home. And also like where I'm from, Sri Lanka, that is my home as well.
Right.
Like it is kind of sad, what's going on there at the moment. If any one of you is not aware, like there's a whole like an economic crisis. And again, like I was supposed to travel there, and because of it, I pushed my plans away. But yeah, I would say that place, like Sri Lanka, feels like home as well. But for me, like I get used to places quickly. So if I were to go to another country and stayed for a bit, I'll be like, okay, this is also home now. Like I feel like I just like get used to different places, and all those places kind of become part of me over time.
You don't miss like your previous place, like if you don't Like if you move from Canada, you're like, oh,
I
I miss
do.
Canada.
I do. I
You would,
actually do.
Mm.
Like, it's so funny because when I'm in Canada, I miss Sri Lanka, and when I'm in Sri Lanka, I miss Canada, and when I'm in Toronto, I miss Alberta. I'm like, I can't be at all the places at once. So I'm like, you know what? That's why I take a million pictures so I
Yeah.
can look at it later on and,
Right.
you know, and just like remember all those great memories.
That's true. True. Okay, if you could only visit one food place for the rest of your life, where would that be?
Oh, that is interesting. Do I have to pick only one?
Okay, we'll give you two. That's the best we can do.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So, one of my favorite foods, like ever, hands down, is like kottu roti. I'm not sure. Have you guys tried it or heard of it?
Not tried it, I heard.
Cooked roti?
It's a Sri
Cooked-
Lankan Sri Lankan
Yeah.
dish.
It's like a chopped up like roti,
Yep.
and it has like beef and veggies and eggs. Like it's so good.
Is it?
So yeah, so there's a place called Face in Colombo. It's like right by the beach, and there's like these little stalls that sell like kottu. So that would be one place that I would go to forever. But because I can pick two,
Because
so
you have two
the other
homes.
place- yeah. I also love sushi. Like sushi is like my thing. Like I love it so much. There's a great restaurant for sushi here downtown Toronto called Miku Sushi. So I guess if I'm in Toronto, that's where I'll be. Like if I'm in Sri Lanka, I'll be at Golf Racing Kottu.
I feel like the sushi scene in Singapore needs to step up because apparently people like sushi a
Oh,
lot.
really?
But I don't really like sushi, so I need to find a place that will really make me fall in love with sushi.
But sushi here in Singapore, at least halal sushi, is not Japanese sushi. It's
Oh,
not,
is it?
It's not authentic Japanese sushi. It's like mass produced,
Right.
like localized versions of sushi to
Right.
suit your taste buds.
So I need to go to Japan
and
and fall in love with
That's interesting.
sushi.
if you want to get real good, like fresh sushi and like how it tastes like, then you have to go there. Because, I mean, there's only one or two sushi places
True.
here in Singapore
Yeah.
that's halal.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there are many, but the big ones are only one or two, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay. The food is
Okay.
It's
so
okay.
I need to go someplace.
Interesting.
I need to go either to Canada or Japan to try sushi.
Yeah, you should. Oh my God, people are obsessed with sushi here. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, what's the big hype, right? So I tried it. I'm like, I'm hooked.
No, what about it? What about
Yeah.
it?
Sorry?
What about it is so good?
It is the thing like about Japanese food is like it's mild, but it's like still flavorful. Like it's I can't really explain it. Like it's just it's so good.
It's just
It's just so good. But like what I like the food, it feels like it looks like very simple when you look at it, but it's also like really complex. Like they're very like precise with like what goes on there, like how it's cut, like the flavor. So it's like it's a very thought out kind of cuisine.
okay.
But yeah, it's pretty good.
Like even the way you eat it
Mhm.
is important. I'm
Yeah.
scared to go to these kind of places. Wait until I use a fork instead of a chopstick.
Yeah.
They won't
Don't do
give you a
that.
fork.
If you're good with chopsticks, like to eat sushi, you're good. Like I still struggle with chopsticks, but I also heard, your hands are okay. Like you can
Yeah.
use your fingers
Ooh.
to eat sushi. So I'm like, oh, that is amazing.
I did not know that.
So yeah.
Okay, so what's one thing you look forward to when you travel back home from your travel? What's the one thing that you look forward to after your travel?
First of all, like I don't really look forward to leaving my trip because I'm just like, can this last forever?
Uh-huh.
But then again, like that's
Not possible.
It's not practical, right?
Yeah.
But for me, mostly like what I look forward to is eating food, like home cooked food.
Yep.
For some strange reason, like I crave it towards the end of my trip. Like when we go outside, like you're eating a lot of like restaurant food and they're kind of like very salty or very greasy, right? So that gets me craving vegetables. So I definitely look forward to coming home and eating a bunch of vegetables. I know it sounds really weird, but that's something I look forward to.
So it
Huh.
depends on where you go, like,
Yeah.
and what they have. Okay. I mean, food
Yeah.
for me also when coming back home is a big deal. Like, especially when you go to a place where, so there are some, I think, there's some countries where you get a lot of types of food there. You get to try a lot of different types of food. And then you have some countries where it's just that type of food. Like for example, I did like an exchange semester in Turkey, and like it's a lot of Turkish food. You know, they don't really have a lot of Japanese restaurants or like Malay restaurants. You know, it's Turkish food. Then I crave like other types
Other
of food.
cuisines.
Yeah, but then there are places that have many types of food.
Right.
But then you still do crave something. So
Yeah.
it's like what you crave or what I crave for is like my mom's cooking.
Right. Okay.
It's always something that you need to come back home to and like, just feel at home with.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%.
For me, when I
Yeah.
travel, if I'm at the airport, I need to get McSpicy. So in Singapore, we have this. In
Same.
Singapore's McDonald's, we have a burger that is basically spicy chicken patty.
Do you have it? No, McSpicy.
No, like I wish McDonald's was halal here.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But this chicken patty is so thick, and it really has a lot of oil inside.
Juices.
Wow.
I must say. So like even if you squeeze it a bit, oil will be dripping down. So it's that tender.
Wow.
So that's what I will order, no matter where I go. Malaysia is okay. I'll come back and have McSpicy when I'm done.
So it's more of like a tradition for you.
Interesting.
When you
Correct,
come back.
correct. Especially if I go to like, for example, China, I'll come back like I need McSpicy. Like not even a question.
Interesting. So instead of like, so that's what you look forward to.
Yes.
The mixed spicy chicken.
I think it's
amazing.
also because like it's just a Singaporean thing. It's just a Singaporean food, I would say.
McDonald's.
McSpicy. Just McSpicy. Because even in Malaysia, like it's a different name, right? I would
What is
think Spicy McDeluxe.
Oh really?
I think so.
I had no idea.
But to me, I think McSpicy is a Singaporean cuisine. I don't know.
Okay.
Interesting. Interesting.
You need to try that when you're in Singapore.
Yes.
It's called
For sure. Like
McSpicy.
I'm taking mental notes right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, McDonald's is halal.
Yes.
KFC is halal.
Yes.
Amazing.
So many halal things.
That is amazing. That is one thing about like Canada is like a lot of big
Fast
name
food, yeah.
restaurants are not halal.
Right.
So
It
Cannot
can be
take it for
tricky.
granted.
Yeah, I cannot take it for granted. Okay, so what's one thing? Sorry, if you are given 5 minutes now, what are 5 things you would grab if we say that you need to leave for the airport in 5 minutes?
right. And do clothes count?
No, clothes do not count. You will have clothes. Don't worry.
Okay. So aside from clothes.
Aside from clothes and aside from passport.
Interesting.
Okay, you have 5
Okay,
seconds.
so
We're gonna
I was
give 5
actually
seconds.
gonna say passport, but I was like, okay, no, I can't even.
No.
I can't take passport. I would pick like first thing. My priority is being able to sleep on the plane.
Oh.
So my neck pillow is like a non-negotiable for me, like a really comfortable one. And I would probably get a book to read. I know like in flight you have like movies and stuff, but after a while like it's so hard on the eyes. So I'm like, let me just read a book.
Okay.
So definitely a book. Does my phone count? Like my phone and
Okay,
charger?
sure. Yeah, your phone.
That
and your
would be the
charger.
first thing I say. My
Yeah,
phone.
yeah, same. I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
I would not take a book
Yeah,
with me.
Honestly, like if you don't have your phone, you have nothing, honestly. Like
Yeah.
everything's on there. So definitely my phone and a charger. Or
Okay.
like what do you call them? The charging banks? Like
Power banks. Power banks.
power banks.
Yes.
Yeah, power banks. And
You have 2 more.
can I say snacks?
Yes, yes, you may.
Yeah, snacks. Probably like smuggling a bunch of snacks to
Okay.
like survive the long flight.
Or do you need just an apple?
Yeah.
Just an apple will do.
Yeah, oh my god. Yeah, I would just like give it to my husband. Like, you're the apple person. Just eat your apple and let me eat my snacks. But yeah,
Okay, one last one.
those. Oh, I didn't say 5. Interesting. Okay.
The phone comes with the charger.
Sorry.
The phone comes with the charger, so that's one.
Oh,
Do you have one
interesting.
more?
Okay, I see. And maybe socks. I know this is so weird, socks, because it gets cold in the flight.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting.
Nice
weird.
woolly socks, so I can sleep in peace.
Wow.
My
Okay.
feet are warm. I just, just the whole. I just need to make sure that whatever I have, like for the flight, is just making my flight just enjoyable as possible
Right.
and comfortable as possible.
Right.
I like
Okay.
how
yeah.
the 5 things she grabs is really just for the flight.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
Yes. Yeah,
it's
'cause,
so
like,
important.
when you're in Canada, right? Like the closest country is like across the Atlantic Ocean. That's like a 13-hour
okay.
flight.
Mm.
So you really need to make sure that you are comfortable on that flight.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, it is very long. Even like going to Alberta was like quite long.
Mhm.
How long was it?
Oh my gosh, my
Six.
memory. It was anywhere between maybe like 2 hours, maybe.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't that long, but like considering it's like the next
Yeah.
province,
Yep.
it is kind of long, yeah.
Wow. This is so interesting because where we are at, we can go to another country in 45 minutes.
The nearest,
That's amazing.
the nearest is 45 minutes to 1 hour.
Yeah,
That's
45.
Malaysia, right?
Maybe 55
Wow.
minutes, including landing.
That's amazing. I think I
Yeah.
should consider like Singapore or Malaysia to like just go like stay there because it seems like everything's just so convenient.
It
to be,
is.
like around that
I know.
area.
I know some people who stays in Singapore because they want to have access to different other countries.
Yeah.
Because Singapore is like the port.
Amazing.
But I'm very amazed that Canada, you have to cross the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh,
Get to
yeah.
this country.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. So it's a 13-hour flight just to cross the
Just to cro-
Atlantic, and then you take your transit, and then it's like another 5 or 6 hours depending on where you
Gosh.
live.
I'm just thinking,
So,
like we had
yeah.
a trip. We planned a trip. Halaltrip planned a trip in Bintan, which is in Indonesia. It's an hour ferry ride from Singapore, and we had participants from Canada.
They must have come like
Yeah, who came
2 days before.
all the way from Canada, came
Yeah.
to Singapore, took a 1 hour ferry. So I'm just thinking now the journey must be so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably at least like 25 hours.
Yeah,
Like back to like
mm.
it's like a non-stop journey. Like it's very long.
My goodness.
This is why
Yeah.
like they cannot come to the retreat for like just an amount of time.
days.
They need to come like
For this.
a week before or like to just like make full use of their
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
in Singapore.
And I think they stop over
Yeah.
somewhere also.
yeah,
on
I think
the way
most of them
back.
Thailand, most of them somewhere. Wow, amazing.
I've grown to understand better the lengths they go
So
to
I'm
now.
not gonna migrate to Canada. Definitely, that's
Oh.
not the option.
Try visiting first and see
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
survive that long
Like
plane ride. And
Okay.
then you're good.
Wow, amazing. Okay, thank you so much for everything, for all that you have shared with us.
Yeah,
I think
so
they're really
cool.
interesting. And those who
Thank
are
you so much
watching,
for having me on here.
those who are watching, go ahead and check out her page on Instagram at Exploring Hijabie. That is Exploring Hijabie. Yep. So she'll be posting more, hopefully, while we live
Yes,
vicariously
there's
through her
a
travels.
lot more to come. I just got
Yeah.
started, so like
yeah.
I'm super excited to like share more about Canada. Right now I'm in Toronto doing my Toronto things. But hopefully not just Canada, but like also around the world
Yeah.
as well.
Yes,
So if
inshallah.
you guys join me on my journey,
Yes.
I would be so grateful.
Yes, and please share with us like interesting spots, halal food spots in Canada, especially sushi.
Yes. Yes, for sure. I'll keep that in mind.
Thank you so much, Akeela, for joining us today.
you.
And for those who are watching, thank you for watching this episode or listening to this episode on Spotify. Thank you so much. In the meantime, go ahead and check out our other episodes if you haven't. But for now, goodbye, everybody.
Alright guys, thanks for listening. So we'll see you on the next episode. Don't forget to give us a shout out on anchor.fm/the Halal Travel Podcast. Your voice message could be featured in our next episode.
Yep, and if you have any advertising and collaboration opportunities, contact us at info@halaltrip.com. That's info@halaltrip.com.
Also, don't forget to follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Halaltrip. We're also now on Telegram and TikTok. Until next time, get inspired, go and inspire others.